Hello everybody. And with all this whole coronavirus thing going on, and I hadn't done one of these in a long time, I'll do a full tour of all my tanks. So I know, I sit and watch sports all the time. There's nothing on TV to watch. I call this the coronavirus. There's nothing on TV and I'm bored running out of stuff to watch on YouTube, so I figured you guys could watch something that's long. So anyway, first tank. This is a 20-gallon long. The light is one of these Marina. You get like sets of 6 of them for like $43 or $44. And that's what all these started off with, little cheap Aquanites, and when everything was air powered, everything runs off of pumps now except for the breeder boxes. That's why you hear all that extra air buzzing off, because I'm running an AP 100 pump and I have lots of extra air being made. I probably just used unplugged the AP 40. So everything runs off of these Aquanite 250 gallon per hour power heads. That's a DIY. These are the biggest ATI type 5 or size 5 sponges. Let's see, I can't even see. Some of them are the reticulated sponges, and some of them are the cheaper fine sponges. So that's how this tank is filtered, and all my 20 longs are going to be filtered this way, except for one of them. So, and there's also quite a few red neos in this tank. I have discovered with some of my Guppy and Endler lines that just keeping shrimp of any kind in there, you get more fry survival rate, higher fry survival rate, because little baby shrimp are easier to catch than little baby fries. So these are the Rainbow Tiger Endlers. I've had these guys, this line I got off of Lucas Barrett's probably right around 3 years ago. So and that's what we have in there. Now the next tank. These are one of the first. This is one of the first original lines I got over 3 years ago. And I let the line go a little bit at first because I didn't really know what I was doing. But I've been working it pretty good, I feel. And I'm getting it back to where I like it. Big ears. Red mosaic. And it's hard to get a good video of the tank. And we have fry. They're about ready to be let loose, I would say. And we got 2 expecting mothers. And surprisingly, this line isn't notoriously bad at eating fry. There are actually quite a few fry surviving in here now. Earlier today I seen it. Yeah, there's a smaller one. There's some smaller ones. And they don't look like they're really going after them that much. So maybe they're getting their full of fire red trimplets. There's even a little tiny shrimp right there making it, so. Oh. As aggressive as these guys were eating fry when I first got a hold of them. They're looking pretty good. I am pretty happy with them again. I've got some fresh females, because my females mostly looked like that. And then Valley Fish, a buddy of mine and fellow YouTuber, I sent him this line a couple of years ago. We've had it for 3. And his females are looking, those are his females. With a better mosaic in the tail. I'm not sure what that'll mean for my drops from when my males impregnate his females. Look at that guy. I'm not sure what that'll mean exactly, but then these arbels will be removed and end up in the guppy pond. But these guys are pretty sweet, in my opinion. They're different than when I got them, that's for sure, but I like the direction I've taken them. Pretty nice fish. The next tank we have going on here are steel blue guppies. I got these again from Valley Fish. He got them at some auction he went to, and he's just been keeping the line going. He showed me some pictures of them. They're really hard to get a hold of. I've seen them on ATFG. They're one of the lines they offer, I do believe, or have in the past or something. So these are a very nice line. And right now the only line that I have still waiting on fry. There's the other male. Started off with 2 pairs. And these are the girls. They're the last ones to drop. I've had them over a month. Still waiting. And it's this tank, these top tanks have not had heaters. The bottom 2 tanks on these racks had heaters. So we should have fry real soon. They're still young females, so they won't have too big of drops. But should be soon. I'm sure it'll happen before my vacation's over this week. And then here on the next tank down, we have king koi guppies. Look at those females, oh my gosh. This one dropped all the fry. This one may need to go back in her breeder basket. She dropped a whole bunch of empty eggs, but she still looks pretty big. And I have seen a couple fry swimming around in the tank. So she might have dropped a whole bunch of empties and still had a couple that were still alive. But these are the... And this male has some really weird stuff going on. He's got like the koi growth on like where the dorsal attaches to his body, and it's pretty weird. And these females are enormous for guppies. And then here are the fry, which for this is Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, and they're born Wednesday night, I believe. So they're all doing super good. And down here on the floor, we have what are called Midnight Blue Moscows. We went to the swap meet there in Iowa when I got a lot of these new lines. But my wife wanted to pick out some. These are the ones she picked out, and they're pretty awesome. I like them quite a bit. And we're growing out a clutch of baby Plecos. There's about 55 or 60 baby Plecos in there that are about to be sold. And we got, there's one fry. He swims around somewhere in here. I don't know when he was dropped, but he's big enough now. He's not even got to worry about eating. So he was some one-off fry. Dropped probably 2 or 3 weeks ago that I'd never noticed until recently. And now he's big enough and he's swimming around. He's not even worried about getting ate. We had both females. Start off with 2 pairs of these. There's like 4 fry in here, and there's about a dozen in there. And so that is the first 5 tanks of the tour. And then if you go completely to the other side, this main fish room is actually a 12 by 4 foot walk-in closet, and this is linoleum because there used to be people who lived here before, and we actually used to keep a deep freezer in here, another refrigerator. That's what this area of the house was for. So we come over here and we have 5 more tanks. Now, unfortunately, I've redone all these. Used to all be shrimp only tanks, and I have redone them all, and now they're bare bottoms with just moss floating around, growing however it wants to grow for guppy fry cover and plant a tank. So I'm still going to do plant a tanks. And this has one of the original Aquatic lights. We have 2 of them, well, 3 of them actually. But in this room we have 2 of these 5 tanks. The original Aquatic light that I got still works. And this tank has gone really bad green. This tank was way green and getting better. So now these are a line I've had. I just recently reset. I kept only the best 3 or 4 pairs, I'd say. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to. Yeah, they're all posing. There's a couple other females in there. But these are the breeders, keepers that I decided to keep. I think someone just come to the house, so I'm going to pause this. Okay, sorry about that. My son had one of his friends come over and the wild barking dog was out. So I got that taken care of. Looks like we have some more babies of this one. There's some fry swimming around right there. There's a few other ones. So this line will be going. Like I said, I just completely got reset when I redid all these tanks. This was a my original green jade shrimp tank that my son killed by overfeeding. And then below it, we have the Japan Blues. This again was a shrimp tank. Blue Dream shrimp. That, my boy, killed by overfeeding in the same instance. So, and I used to have hundreds and hundreds of these guys in a 40-gallon tank. And now I've bred down, restart everything with the traits I want and desire. I like a little bit of that mosaic patterning in the tail. Nice blue color, uniform dot. There's a few of them that have a weird dot kind of, but I like the tail patterning. And that's what I was selecting for mainly. And there's some, all these things have some random shrimp in them now. Like, there's quite a few in here, it's hard to see. And there's some shrimp in here. Just some random shrimp from coal tanks that I throw in here because, like I mentioned earlier, little baby shrimplets are easier to catch than little baby guppies. So they'll get a taste for baby shrimps instead of their own young. And of course, the shrimp act as a good scavenger. Tank below. This is one of the old lines that I nearly lost when I was battling the guppy wasting disease. And this was the only really good male I had left, and he wasn't even spectacular. I had a couple good females left, but the males that have been coming out, I'm still going to give them some time to mature, but they're light colored like that. So I may end up doing away with this line because I've been seeing some blue or purple mosaics that I'm liking a whole lot. So I'm not real sure. I'll give this line some more time. I'll probably give it this summer. See what comes of it. Then unfortunately, we have completely green right here. There's a bunch of fry swimming around in here. If you sit here and look at the corner of the tank, you'll be able to see them. But these are another line I used to have and lost when I had the guppy wasting disease issue. That is why all my guppy tanks that I still have a few that are not bare bottom, but it's easier to treat and vacuum whenever you run into problems when you don't have a substrate. So they're chasing fry now. I'm trying to eat them. These are pandas, and these are more of the true mini guppy pandas. Here's a young'un. They're a small guppy. They're not. My other line I used to have was up more of a regular size. I think that they've been bred with Moscows to get bigger. It's my more Moscow, less Pingu. So I know they're all from Moscows, but anyway, there's the green tank. And I'm not really too worried about it because eventually it'll balance itself out. There's not enough plant growth going on here and messing up everything when I did the bare ground. It's worth it. Bare bottom, it's worth it, but this light's just too much for what it is. But we'll see. If I get it too bad, I'll take those off and put some of the Barino ones on there. If I choose to do that, I don't know. And then we have another line I used to have a bunch of. I have a couple popular videos of red grass guppies in a 75-gallon tank. And that tank had hundreds and hundreds of grass guppies. So I ended up just putting them all in my coal tank, the old tank. Here's a little fry. I was looking around here this tank today earlier, and there are lots and lots of fry, various sizes. The couple that I've been seeing, there's 3 or 4 that I've been seeing. Those are probably like 2 weeks, 3 weeks old maybe. I've been seeing those guys for a while. And then there's a couple smaller ones in the back there. So they're all doing good. There's a lot of babies in here, and I've never had these guys when I had them before. I'm not sure if it's the exact same line, but red grass guppies, they look pretty much the same as I had before. So I'm guessing they originated somewhere from the same thing I had before. They were never frighters, and these guys don't appear to be too bad about it either. So I'm just going to let these guys colony breed for now. Get their numbers up. Okay, and that is it for the 10 guppy lines that I have in here. And the next part of this room is the rack of 8 40-gallon breeders. 4 high. Now, I don't recommend doing this. This is a horrible, terrible idea, the way I've done it. But if you want to fit as many tanks as possible in a small space, this is what you're going for. Yep, there's still 8. None of them disappeared. So, we'll start up here at the top. This used to be the Japan blue guppy tank. There's hundreds and hundreds in here. I just let them go completely wild for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years ago, I just let them breed wild in here. So, and then one of these tanks, this is a line of shrimp. I got them as blue velvets, but my people who know more about shrimp than I do, and all the namings and all that, told me they are really blue jellies. So I'll go with that. I put about probably 50 or so in here a few months back, and there's so many little shrimp in here, and lots of females are still buried. So they just had a whole bunch of little babies, and they're still having more babies coming down the pipeline. All these are still growing up. So blue jelly shrimp. And then over here to the right, we have orange cure shrimp. I started this colony last summer. I think midsummer. That bottom tank there on the floor is where these guys started off at. And that tank is so hard to get into and call shrimp. These guys are not, and they just weren't really doing that good. So I give them their own 40-gallon, and they start breeding like mad. Huge population explosion. And then within like 2 or 3 months, after I probably threw about 20 or 30 in here, the 20 or 30 best ones I had left. You can see there's a couple I need to get out right there. But usually these guys are pretty reliable. And a solid orange Neo. We got some pretty cool crips growing up in there. They're just now starting to take off. They've been in there for over 2 years. And just started growing like in the last few months. They just sat there with like 3 leaves. Never died. Never grew. Just stayed alive. And now they're starting to do good stuff. Okay, next one here. We have a whole bunch of snails. We had yellow golden back shrimp. And again, all these 40s, they have the same 250 gallon per hour power head, and they have two sponges. They have a fine sponge and a coarse sponge, the size 5 ATI sponges. Looks like that fine sponge is getting sucked in and needs to be changed, I would say. So I'll be doing that here sometime this week while I'm on vacation. Looks like that needs some cleaning. Flow still looks pretty good, but it could probably be a little better, I'm sure. The main inhabitants, the stars of this tank, are the super red Plecos, bristlenose Plecos. And we got a whole bunch of little babies in there, and a whole bunch of snails, because when you're raising Plecos, you throw in a bunch of food, and when you throw in a bunch of food, you get a whole bunch of snails. I'm about to, on the list of things to do, the tanks that are way too many snails are all getting collected up. Not all of them, but as many as I can grab. They're all going to get collected up, and something will be done with them. Oh, in this tank we also have valves. Now, this is another plant I've had. It just kind of sat there for almost, I've had this not quite a year. I think I got this last summer. This valve. Another plant I got from Valley Fish. And it just kind of sat there for like 8 months, 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and then it just slowly started growing, and now I can see more valve coming in there's a runner all the way down the back of the tank. And then it's going to meet up with this one here. I got done planting all of them. I was like, oh crap. There was one little plantlet left that I forgot to do something with. And ended up taking off. And here are the... Hey, what are you doing? Ava and Zoe. Hey, alright. Let's get back to talking about fish tanks. If these dogs will get out of the way. Ava is a handful. She's like a 3.5-year-old border collie Australian Shepherd mix. And Zoe is almost 5. She's Australian Shepherd. Next tank. This is a wild overgrown moss tank that houses my blue dream shrimp. I'm not claiming they're the best blue dreams around, and I need to get better calling on them. But they're a nice, pretty shrimp. I'm about to redo all this moss so I can call them. I've been trying to call, and it's pretty difficult. And you have this many shrimp. Pretty solid blue dreams. Look at that one. That's really pretty. Look at the top view. So that's what we have going on in there. Now we're gonna go. I'm gonna sit down on the floor for these bottom floor tanks. Oh, alright. So now, My dogs are gonna be in the way. This is a green jade backup tank. I want to have another tank for these guys. The same green jade shrimp I have in my other tank that I have a lot of videos about. When my son killed my original green jade shrimp tank by dumping in way too much food while I was away for work one week, I was down to just my one 75-gallon, and I wasn't comfortable with that because I have a lot of work and effort and time invested into these, getting them to be as good as they are, and so I didn't want to risk losing them. I always wanted to have a backup colony. So when I redid all my guppy tanks, like I said, all of these 10, 20 longs. Zoe, he's getting a drink. Are you drinking? They always do. I don't care. They always do. The bottom tanks are in the guppy pond. But all these 10 tanks used to be just shrimp tanks. But I have come to my own conclusions over doing this kind of stuff for 3 years now. Over 3 years now with the shrimp and guppies. I've had fish tanks my whole life. Over 30 years now. But since doing the shrimp and guppies and planted tanks like I have been, I've noticed that the shrimp do better in bigger tanks. For me, maybe I'm crazy, but I think it's the whole thing. More water volume, easier to keep steady, keep stable parameters. I think that's what it boils down to. So if I had the space and the budget, every single tank I do would probably be a 75-gallon tank for shrimp. But what do I know? I'm just the guy who stuck some shrimp in his planted tanks and they started doing good. So for me, that's my observation. And then over here, I almost lost this line. These are Bloody Mary shrimp, and there's quite a few babies in there now. They were in a 20-gallon tank just across this room behind me. I was down to about, I think I counted 17 that I found in their colony. And moved them over to here, and they get fed like crazy. I feed them like there's 300 shrimp in here, because there's a pleco that lives in here too. So any extra food he just gobbles right up, so there's no issues. But this is a really nice Bloody Mary line I've got, and the ones I found were really nice shrimp. So this on to 40-gallon breeder number 6. This is a tank that I just made a video, well, not just, but not that long ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, I made a video about redoing it. It was a complete overgrown mess. And these tanks on the floor, these 40-gallon breeders, do not have heaters, so they get pretty cool. So guppies don't really do that great, but in the summer they do fine, but in the winter they survive, but the breeding slows down. Now, what did we get? Arculata, I believe. And it was starting to do, one piece of it was starting to do good in this tank, but I transferred it. I wanted it for this tank. Looks like that piece ain't too happy. Them pieces are staying alive, and this piece said, hey, I love it here. I want to start growing like crazy. But I think this is a plant that usually needs more light than I am able to provide, because this is my lighting situation. And so right there where that where that stem is growing really good, that would be right directly under the light. So that's going to be the brightest light spot in the tank, and then this spot right here. And this moss is going to grow crazy, not getting that much light. And the centerpiece of this tank is this Florida sunset crypt. And it's even made the new leaves, when I redug it up and planted it, have kept growing, and then there is another new leaf. This plant has been dug up and replanted twice in like the last 6 or 7 weeks. And driven a quarter of the way across the country. So I'd say it's a pretty happy plant we got. They're just fire red shrimp. Really nice shrimp. And then, oh, we might be having some babies. This is a tank that I have just recently redone. And this is the first time it's been on video since it's been redone. This is just another overgrown moss mess. And all these shrimp in here, you can tell, we got all kinds of wild looking varieties. My black rose line of shrimp, which I don't really have. I did during the panda guppy tank that's green. My last keeper's a black rose. But when I was working the black rose line pretty hard, they were throwing a whole bunch of blue shrimp. So one day I picked out about 25 or 30 blue cold shrimp. I called out, and there's nothing in here but a handful of guppies. There's still, I thought I caught them all out, but there's still some like completely wild, really ugly guppies in here that I tried doing some weird crosses with, and it didn't do that. Oh, I think we're having shrimp sex right now. Yep. There's some shrimp sex. Law of action. Yeehaw, law of action right there. And look at that. Caught in the act. But there are all kinds of crazy stuff going on. When you get some like Bloody Mary looking shrimp, you get some really looking shrimp. There's some black ones. There's some kind of red looking deal. Real splotchy blues. Ugly wilds. There's all kinds of cool shrimp in here. Where'd that guy go? I just seen him in my eye, but now I can't catch him on the camera. There he is. Look. It's kind of blue one looking one. A pretty good looking blue one. Some kind of really type of thing. A full out wild one. A great big female Plecos. We have babies in here sometimes, but if I see them in here now, I'll raise them up, but I haven't raised them up. There's actually a breeding pair. So, bristle nose in here as well. So, there we go. Of all kinds of. This is actually a pretty fun tank. I get people messaging me wanting to buy these shrimp all the time from me. Just to have a cool, different kind of shrimp tank for cheap shrimp. I like them quite a bit. Oh, and the plants here, it's just the pilo moss.
That's the same moss I have in all my tanks except for one, and I'll talk about that when we get to it. But this is one of my new favorite plants. It is called mermaid weed. I don't know the scientific deal, but it grows like when I got it, it was still in its immersed form, and that's what the immersed leaves look like. As soon as it gets aquatic, the leaves start getting super fine, and then if you have it in good enough light, it'll turn red, which I have some nice red pieces of it in my guppy pond where I have it under a stronger light. There's some more pieces of it. I really just wanted to dedicate a tank. When I redid this tank, I wanted to dedicate a tank to growing out some mermaid weed, really, because I like it a lot. And it seems to be doing well. It grows a lot faster in super bright light, but no, and that's decent light right there. I like to usually keep it like that, but they don't always stay. You can tell it's a little brighter now when I get the light sitting on the tank, right? Okay, I guess we'll move on. That's it for the fish room closet. We'll go on to the next round. Alright, and we're over here. He was just right there, and now we're here. So, these are the first 5 tanks I set up on this current fish tank keeping adventure. These 420 highs and the 75 are the first 5 tanks I set up. And right here I have a hybrid Guppy Endler breeding project that I have been working on. This tank has gone cloudy the last couple of weeks. I've been feeding a whole lot more, and the tank's adjusting to that, and these filters probably need service. These are Aqua Clear 30s, I believe, running on these tanks. Yeah, they're probably getting clogged up. They need a little bit of service to them. That's what all 4 of these 20 highs are running. Well, I did some crossing of endlers and guppies, and I've selectively bred the fry over the course of the last 2.5 or 3 years. And I've reintroduced some Blue Star endlers into the mix to see what that makes me. We have that. There's some fry. So that's pretty cool. And then this, I've got all kinds of Anubias from this monster piece of Anubias in this tank. I would cut all kinds of pieces of Anubias off this and propagated it throughout my other tanks. So that's a cool little thing. All these 4 20-gallon highs they're all in overgrown states, but this is the only kind of moss I have that's not Pilo. This is actually peacock moss, and I've kept the Pilo moss out of here, so because Pilo moss just take over. But this used to be really good. It used to have a full carpet in here when I was dosing fertilizers and all that. But now, this tank, I rip out every piece of guppy grass I can find, and it always comes back. There's roots buried in the substrate somewhere. But this has been a snowball shrimp colony for a long, long time. It originally started as my very first grass guppy, and I had a big old pile of guppy grass in the back. So that's why you're seeing that. And now this tank, it has moss attached, the Pilo moss. Excuse me. Pilo moss attached to both sides and a overgrown piece of Rotala in the middle. It looks pretty cool when it's taken care of, but right now it's in a state of overgrown mess.
this is what it is. And we got a whole bunch of the copepod, water fleas, whatever you want to call them, eating on the little bit of algae growing on the front glass here. That's quite alright, I don't mind. The yellow goldenbacks, they're starting to bounce back in here. They're not bouncing back in my other tank because I have some issues going on with some snails, but too many. There's so many snails that are out competing for food. And then over here, this was my original fire red shrimp tank, and now it's just a bunch of red shrimp and my backup colony of my favorite guppy that I have, my red mosaics. And these males I kept, they're old fogies. And this guy was a fry that showed promise. And I'm not sure what he's doing. He's turning out. His mosaic pattern so far ain't that great. It looks like he's gonna have big ears. His dorsal looks pretty nice. So we'll see. We'll give him some time to color up completely and see how he ends up looking. But yeah, cool stuff. And then we have what most people would say is my best looking tank. It's kind of bordering on the edge of being an overgrown mess. It is not quite there yet, but I'm gonna have to get rid of this big old moss. It's not gonna be gone. I'm just gonna rip it all out, replant it how I started it, and then in another 6 to 8 months we'll have this again. So, but the main inhabitants of this tank is all about these guys. The fire red shrimp. This is my main deal. I worked on calling these guys pretty good. I mean, with this many shrimp, just running into issues, but that's the main reason I'm going to rip out that moss eventually. Then we've got some nice Ludwigia, narrow leaf Ludwigia. Gets nice and red up high by the light, like how it gets real nice and thick. Just keep cutting it and it grows back, cutting it, grows back. Kind of like I've done there. That's what that is there. I dedicated pretty much that whole tank to growing a Ludwigia bush. It's been going for, over a year like that now, so. Yeah. And on these we have an Aquaclear 110, and I have managed to fit an ATI 5 reticulated sponge on Aquaclear, and which is easy to do with little kits you can buy. Not so easy to do on the Aqueon 75s or whatever the heck they're called, the biggest Aqueons. So the sponge filter is mainly doing most of the filtering, and I have some foam and some lava rock and stuff in the filter boxes. So as for the bio filtration, and we're breeding Plecos in here. That is, I have a big, large male who's actually guarding in his cave. I have 2 of these colored females, and then we have varying. I sell most of them, but there's still some left. I want to eventually have a couple, hopefully get a couple more breeders so we get more babies more often. And here's what I'm hoping for, the Plecos. Because we're getting some that ain't really that small anymore. They're getting to be pretty decent size. And one of the females carries the albino gene, and another female does not carry the albino gene. Because sometimes you get a 50-50 mix of albinos and regulars, and then some batches will be all regulars. So
It's just, I'm imagining the only way that's possible is when the females does not carry the recessive albinoism gene. And then down here on the floor, we have not much to look at, really. It's just another 20 long. It's bare bottom, has the Aquatic light on it, and has gone completely green. Like all my tanks, I went bare bottom and have Aquatic lights on. But we do have some kind of cool. This is a blue star Endler colony. So, and I think it's bouncing back. I think I've seen some fry swim around here. We'll see. But the cool thing going on here is this moss is floated and it's starting to grow immersed. That's been like that for a couple weeks, and now it's starting to grow in its immersed form. It's pretty awesome. And then, alright, we gotta talk about, I almost forgot, the Guppy pond. Oh my goodness. This thing does pretty good. But I'm going to have some algae issues. Want to go get, because once or twice a week I give it I get hair algae growing there. Get hair algae growing there because it's right underneath that crazy intense light. And we have, there's some algae looking, get a little bit of black beard algae getting on the plants, and usually I just squirt it with peroxide a couple times on the weekend, and it's gone. But I went to go get peroxide, and thanks to the coronavirus, they're all sold out, and it's one of them items they're rationing. So I wouldn't even be allowed to go in there and get like 6 bottles like I usually do. So this thing's going to end up being an algae problem this week, or until I can get my hands on some H2O2. Well, I mean, the amount of guppies in here is ridiculous. I'm hopefully going to be getting rid of a whole bunch of them here soon. I got a number of people lined up that want some of these. They're a mixture. They have genetics of every line I've ever kept. Because when I reset colonies, culls, not crooked spines or deformity culls, those get dealt with. But as far as just not looking right culls, they're still similar. I mean, a lot of these red mosaics are beautiful. Look at this. He must have been a fry, because that is a steel nebula. That is gorgeous. He was probably a fry when I reset the colony a couple months back, and now he's colored up, and he's a stunner. So, but once they go in here, especially obviously females, they can never be a line guppy again, because there's all kinds of crazy stuff. Every kind of guppy, every line I've ever had has made some kind of genetic deposit on this. And this is also my shrimp cull tank. Someone left a comment on my video like, why do you kill a shrimp? I was like, I'm not killing anything, man. Calling to me in the shrimp business, when it comes to shrimp, is just getting rid of the undesirables. I've never killed a healthy shrimp. I always put them in cull tanks, and my cull tanks ended up being dumped in here, and now this is just a catch-all. There's also a colony of about a dozen adult Plecos in here. So there's all kinds of cool stuff, and I propagate a lot of plants. I wanted to get a Ludwigia farm going on this side. I think I've succeeded. I do gotta get some peroxide because I see a bunch of blackbeard starting to form in there. So I haven't treated it with peroxide in probably 2 or 3 weeks because I've been out and I wanted to get some more because it's needed treating, and now I can't. There's some of that mermaid weed that turns red under super nice light. It grows really, not really fast, but significantly faster in here. There's another piece of it sticking out here. And here's some super red Ludwigia that I'm propagating out. Looks really nice. And this light is not working right now. I need to replace it, but sometimes it works. It'll work most of the time for like 2 weeks straight, and then it won't hardly work at all except flicker on. Here and there, I need to unplug it and replace it. And we have in the lower light areas, well, we have my Pilo moss that I have in all my tanks taking over and going crazy. That is what's going on in the guppy pond. Well, we'll talk about. This is a 50 watt LED floodlight. That is a 50 LED floodlight that don't work. And this is a 150 watt LED floodlight. That is super, super, super bright. And that's just one of the Verena LED T5 fixture looking things that I have in the back to help out with the moss growing in the back. There's lots of moss growing back there. So I believe I have 26 tanks. That's 25 of them. Now for the very last one. And here we are, clear on the other side of the house. This is my main green jade 75 gallon shrimp tank. We have lots of super cool crypts that are growing really awesome. So I put this new light on, these new lights on, and look at this piece of moss just growing up on the sponge. It's turned into its own little clump. Of course, when I take that out, it's going to be a whole mess because hundreds of little shrimps have decided to make it their home. And we have caves for the other stars of this tank. Long fin, super red, bristlenose Plecos. There are 4 of them in here. This big old piece of Anubias right here come from that piece of Anubias in that 20 gallon I said I've taken it and spread it everywhere. Yeah. And it has, I think it was a big piece when I put it in here. It started off there, and I think it went to about in that area there, and all this is new. It's grown halfway across the tank. Now these are Wendeti crypts. Crypticorn Wendeti. And little patch, there's just little stray sprigs of moss stuck on this rock and on this sponge filter intakes. And I put that new light on there, and that moss is just going nuts. And this kind of lighting, it kind of looks like flame moss. So this kind of moss, it really is different for whatever kind of lighting situation you have going on with it. And it'll live on almost no light at all, too. It's Pilo moss, but we have lots and lots and lots of green jade shrimp everywhere. There's a really good dark one that's buried. But anyway, this tank, it has, well, like T8 bulbs that comes with a 75 gallon tank, you know, and the little cheap plastic hood deal.
That's what that is. And then this, I bought this tank off of a buddy. And he just had two T8 shop lights. A shop light, two 4-foot T8 bulbs. Well, one of the bulbs quit working and the other one was barely working, and even the Pilomoss was struggling. The Crips were, you know, they're doing their thing, they're staying alive, but they weren't really growing that fast. So I put two of those Barina T5 or LED T5 fixture deals that I do in all my other tanks, and it is really, it looks a lot better than it did before. And the plants are much, much happier. It's so green. So green and nice. So that's it. That's everything. I'm probably going to be, even though I'm on vacation, I'm not probably going to be doing too many videos this week because I got to wake up early in the morning and get my bathroom remodeled. That is the new shower curtain. That is the toilet, the new toilet. That is going to be the new shower faucet. So I got a wing danger of a week ahead of me. So just want to say thank you all for watching.